to No Church Church. Today we're going to be talking about Dana Coverstone. I'm a pretty positive person, but when Dana Coverstone started talking about these dreams, it seemed very eerie, right? It's like, oh, doom and gloom and all these bad things. But I've kind of always had this little annoying nag in the back of my mind based on some prophecy that I've read in the last 10 years from Kim Clement. And today I want to talk about that, of why I jumped on the Dana Coverstone bandwagon so quickly. Besides all of the things that we can see plain as day through news articles, there's also a lot of other prophecies confirming these things. I encourage you to go to Dana Coverstone's YouTube page and subscribe and see what his videos are about if you haven't heard them all. They're a little bit changing. Everyone's a little bit different. It has a little bit of different details in each one of them, either the timing or the events that might happen. The Iraq Dinar is the thing I want to talk to you about today. We've already done a couple YouTube videos on it, but go ahead and subscribe to No Church Church. And when you scroll through our hundreds of videos, you'll see we did these 2 videos on currency trading and dinar. Just a little side note, good grief is exceptionally well if somebody's gone through, experienced a family member death. This is a powerful podcast that Josh did. Very vulnerable, showing his good grief with the death of his daughter. Or if you go to our Stock Charts Trading YouTube page, we also have trading currency with the dinar. And this 17-year cycle of the stock market is a real eye-opener to let you see what's happening and where the stock market's going over the life of the last 100 years. So today when I'm talking about the dinar, if it seems like I'm going fast, it's because I've already done so much in-depth on those videos. So now I want to take you to House of Destiny, Kim Clement Prophecy page. And right here in this search box, type in dinar space worst. And those keywords will come up twice. July 18th, 2015, after the financial crisis, and May 17th, 2014, which is also after the financial crisis. He says, I've been taken into the fall. Leaves are changing. The wind has come and changed. So this timing of what he's saying is in the season for us, the fall season. And what have we just entered into is the fall season. September 20th started our fall, and it goes through December 21st. He goes on to talk about the economy makeover of hands that have dug into the coffers, into the treasure chest, and then he brings back fall again. This is where it gets interesting. Pandemonium in the White House and in the higher regions. And he brings back that line again, look to the fall. Right after that pandemonium in the White House and look to the fall, he then shifts to the dinar. He goes on a little bit, then he refreshes back to November 22nd, 2013. And he says, I've recently spoken about the Dow at 20,000 points. All of this connects to the massive breakthrough with regard to the dinar. All right, now I'm going to bring you to the other prophecy of July 18, 2015. So he goes on to say, there will be a provision for the world because of what is about to open up in the Middle East. He mentions that it's crazy. That sounds crazy because there's so much wickedness and the leaders and everything bad going on over there. But he says this, it does not matter. And you need to understand that. Bad things, it does not matter. God can still make great things happen out of bad things. He then says, America's been under a cloud of judgment. Don't you think the things that are going on, that we are being pretty judged? He says that we've had no freedom, no liberty, and that's coming to an end. He also talks about an earthquake. There will be a shaking, a grave surrender in the months to come. And if you remember, this is July. So the months to come would be the fall months. And all of that is signs building up to when we should determine this to happen. But now it's specifically for you. And it says, I want to free you, every one of you, my people, to be able to stretch out your hand to the lonely, to the hungry, to the poor, and feed them and clothe them. And right now we have a world struggling. Kim Clement declares there shall be a break in the financial system in the Middle East, the dinar. And people will say, why? Why now? And this is the nagging thought I've had in my mind for years is, and God said, when things seem at their worst, I shall bring it forth and I shall free them up. There shall be a prosperity in a place you least expect it. But this phrase, my oh my, and God said, when things seem, so that means that to us, we perceive it to be terrible, at their worst. Now, if I'm being honest, I thought the coronavirus pandemic was at its worst. And I even said this. I said, there is no way nothing worse can happen after the whole world shut down, right? The whole world was under lockdown during Passover, which I thought was amazing that we were observing Passover without even knowing it or declaring it, right? Because we were thinking that coronavirus was the death angel, right? And it's passing over us, and we all hunkered down and sheltered in our houses and prayed and please pass, please pass, please pass. And so that experience to watch the whole world go through it seemed at its worst. And I thought, this is the moment. This is the time the dinar is going to come forth. Now, another thing, to be vulnerably honest with you, I've been in this investment for over 10 years. So I'm probably looking for any sign for it to come true, right? And then what happened? The pandemic came and went, and nothing happened with the dinar. It's still at the same value it's been since I've invested in it. Now, here's the Dow Jones. And if you remember some of the key words, right? He talked about pandemonium. He talked about the fall. He talked about when things seem at their worst. He talked about the shifting of people putting their hand in the coffer, just taking money from the people, putting the debt on you. What's happening with the U.S. debt is it's up to almost $30 trillion. Unbelievable. But in that, remember he said when the Dow Jones hits 20,000, there's a massive connection of the breakthrough concerning the dinar. And that was about back here when the Dow Jones was only around 14,000. So for him to say the Dow went to 20,000 points, one, you could have invested in that, right? The Dow's at 13. He's saying it's going to go up to 20. That's a 50% increase investment. We have to be careful to mind what these prophets are saying so that we can follow and invest. This would have been an awesome opportunity to get 50% increase in the stock market. So here's 20,000, and I waited 4 to 5 years on the market to get to 20,000. And I remember waiting the day, watching it, because I was like, once it hits 20,000, that's my sign. Everything's going to be great. The dinar's going to come through, and it came, and obviously it went, and there's been no increase in the dinar. The Dow Jones continued going up, up, up. And then we had the coronavirus crash, and it went down to almost 18,000 points, which is at 20,000, right? So here's the second touch of 20,000 based on Kim Clement's prophecy of there'll be a massive breakthrough concerning the dinar when the Dow Jones hits 20,000. The dinar's at the same value, and the market's back at new highs of 29,000. So either Kim Clement is wrong in his prophecy, and the dinar's never going to happen. It's never going to take place. And there's lots of criticism online about that, saying that it's wishful thinking, it's a bet, it's a gamble. But for me, like that one thing sticks out. If I was the president of Iraq, I would want all the sanctions lifted so I could have the value of my money back, right? What a freedom and liberty that would make for that country. And what have they been doing? They've been working on their government, their legislation, their laws, their books, war, all these things. They've been working on it to make everything fit with the IMF, WMF, all of these big things that they have to do, hurdles that they've been jumping over to prove that they're not a terrorist nation anymore. They've been working very hard, because you got to realize they've got millions of billions of trillions of dollars on the line. Why would you not put the effort in to make your money a world currency? It's a no-brainer. So I hear the saving grace when Dana Coverstone comes in and says, hey, there's going to be a market crash, right? Because then it's ding, ding, ding. The Dow market crash would go back at least to $20,000. And if the dollar goes down 2/3 just to 1/3 value, that would seem at its worst. If there was long food lines, that would seem at its worst. If there was power shortages, that would seem at its worst. If there's a big hole somewhere, maybe California, because of an earthquake, and there's lots of damage, that would seem at its worst. If there's nothing coming into ports, that would seem at its worst. It would definitely seem at its worst if all of these things happen in a month with a market crash. And so it brought new hope to the possibility of the dinar. Again, I would encourage you to go to House of Destiny, go down into the search box, type in dinar, and you come up with 5 dates. And in those 5 dates have those keywords. And there's a lot of phrasing in there that we can bring out that would also add to us of what we could see happening around us to use as signs to confirm these things. Just like with Dana Coverstone. He said hyperinflation. I had a friend buy an archery target the other day, normally $20. It was $50, and he was happy to pay for it because he went to 6 different places and they were totally out of stock. Inflation is everywhere. I just paid for some shipping last 6 months to the same place. I have to pay over $1,000 increase just 6-month time shipping difference. Don't get me started on food prices. I will say this, on Kim Clement's site, there is a misspelled dinar prophecy. If you go to it, it's April 28th, 2012. Here's where it gets a little scary and kind of matches up with what Dana Coverstone was saying. He says, Elijah was at the brook for 3.5 years. He said, I prophesied the 3.5 years of famine in America. He talks about the brook being dried up. Everything seemed to be at the end. Then he brings it over to us and he says, you've lost your jobs. And we noticed that big companies are laying off thousands of people. You don't have much finances. You have a lot of debt. And then he goes back to Elijah and he says, Elijah himself was at a place where there was no provision, no food for him. The raven even stopped feeding him and the water ran dry. This is not a good situation for Elijah. This is not going to be a good situation of Dana Coverstone's dream coming to America. But then God said to him, go to a place where I've commanded the blessing. There's a widow woman who has no money, and that's Iraq. Iraq is worthless right now. You would not say this is the country to invest in. Like, he should not say, oh, I'm going to go to a widow woman's house who has no money, and I'm going to have sustained wealth and health there. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not saying you should do this, but I'm saying it's a possibility by your faith of what you see in the word, in the world, what's going on. How do you invest? And do not spend your rent money. Because if I would have used all my money 10 years ago, I probably would have been in a terrible situation and had a divorce, because it's been 10 years since I've been in this and I've made no money at the Iraq dinar investment. I think the dinar, based on the numbers, is probably one of the greatest investments, because it could go from pennies on the dollar back to average of $3. We don't know, so I can't profess to you that you'll become a millionaire or the greatest thing ever, because I don't know. I have no real insight. I'm not an official in Iraq. I'm not an official in anything. I'm just trying to look for the signs through prophecy of what is a possibility by faith for an opportunity of increase. And so I'm giving lots of ideas to take $100 here, $50 there, $500 there. If you have a little bit more money and you have your bills paid, maybe $1,000. It's dependent upon your financial ability based on what you can invest, but what you should not invest. Please be aware and mindful that these things could not work out, or you could lose your money, or it could take years to invest in. But I believe the Spirit of God is with you and He's going to show you. Be vulnerable enough to show somebody what you're doing and what your possibility of loss is and win, to make a good judgment. This is about increase for your family, and so you don't want the increase to turn into more of a burden. If the dinar does not happen and you don't have a job right now, that would make your family go into more of a financial burden. Please don't. Like and follow for more investment ideas.